What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, Jeremy Wormy, and I'm coming at you with another episode of G Gundam! This week, we're doing episode 34? I do this all the freaking time. I finally get caught up. I finally remember what episode I'm doing, and now I can't. No, we're on 36. Okay, my first initial thought was right, but I still thought I was wrong. So, yeah, this is my life. I like I say it every week. I like this episode. I enjoyed this show. I like this. I like that. This is another good one. Things are ramping up. Stories moving on. George versus Domon. Let's go. And there's a good level of suspense in this one, and a challenge for George, considering what's gonna happen. Where is this gonna go? What are the potential consequences of actions George plans on taking? That's this episode. It's a good episode. So we open the episode and some rubble. George and Domon are facing down as the wind swirls around them, and George shows Domon his newest move, a move that he too perfected within the Yana Highlands, just like Chippity did, and let's be real, just like everybody did. A move specifically to take down Domon. George shows off his newest move called Rose Hurricane, as roses swirl all around Domon. Domon says, how is this any different than Rose Bits? And George shows him. Right there. A rose gets thrown just perfectly without Domon ever seeing it, just on his collar. And that's when George says, in this, I can make these roses move anywhere, go through anything, do anything. I could have made it gone through your neck if I wanted it to. Showing right off the bat that this new move is something to watch out for. It ain't just a bunch of punches. This is a deadly move if not properly defended against. And it gets Domon interested. This is going to be the fight that's really exciting for Domon. Then we get our narrator. Man, I love this guy. Eye patch narrator, whatever you want to call him. Comes in and just lays it out. You know, this is going to be a fun fight, but there's going to be some interesting developments here, and it's going to throw a wrench in George's plans. And let's see what happens. And we open up the full episode. You know, you get that initial beginning, then you get your narrator, then we open up to the full part, where George is walking through the Neo France's government building. I'm going to call it the government building because it's where they're staying at the time. And Miss Marie Louise spots him, asks him to stop, but he just ignores her. And shortly thereafter, we have, I can never remember his name, but George's butler comes running up, saying, calm down, George, calm down. Miss Marie ends up turning around saying, what's going on? And that's when we hear George start yelling. George is furious with the president, the king, whoever is in charge of Neo France, the guy in charge, you know, Louise's father, because he has declared the next match between Domon and George will not happen. He is too scared that Rose Gundam will get drastically damaged, and he wants to win. George has enough points as it is that it doesn't really matter if they skip this one match. He's still going off to the Battle Royale finals, and that's where he wants Rose Gundam to win. So why damage it now if you could win later? And George isn't having it. George is very frustrated with this. He wants to fight. It's his duty to fight. He's always served the king. He's served his family. He's served his nations. Why won't he let him fight this one match? And he pleads with President King Dude to please reconsider, and he just walks away. The butler and Miss Marie Louise come in and notice that George is basically out of options. He's furious, he's frustrated, and they don't know what properly to do, and George just walks out. goes to the garden with his butler, where he just talks about how he's always been honorable. He's always done the right thing. He's done everything. He's trained, and this one time he can't. He really really wants to fight. He can't, and it's not fair. And he shows off just how powerful he has become, swirling around roses all over him. This energy just spiraling. And in a window, we see Miss Marie and her father talking, where Miss Marie pleads with her father to let him fight, and he just says no, not gonna happen, because he is weak. He sees something within George that shows that he's weak, he's not gonna win, and he doesn't want to risk losing. We end up cutting away over to the boats, where Domon is, and we see Allenby helping train Domon with a spinning attack and kicking Domon's butt. Rain comes over and says, Domon, what are you doing? You're damaging the Gundam the day before the match. And he just lays it out. With George's new move, he has to figure out a way to combat this attack. Like, I need something to fight back. So we're using this with Allenby to help, sorry about that, to help figure this out. And that's what it is. They're training constantly, spinning attacks. Domon's figuring out, and Rain starts looking at it like he's working his butt off to try to figure out how to do this. It is smart. We end up cutting to the next day. The fight between George and Domon. Domon's there in the ring already. Everybody's like, hey, this is the fight right after Domon versus Chippity. This is going to be another great fight. We end up cutting away to Wong and Master Asia, where Master Asia's, commending Wong. These are some good ideas, having the Shuffle Alliance fight one after another. This is really smart. And Wong's like, this isn't smart. This is just fun. And then Wong points out, but something's bothering me. Where's Neil France? Where's George? Why isn't he here yet? He's always so punctual. We end up cutting away to I guess this is Neil France's Gundam's bunker, but it looks a lot like a snail. I just gotta point that out. And we see George is being stopped by a bunch of guards as he pleads with them to please let him get to the Gundam so he can fight Domon. He wants to fight. We end up having the butler also getting involved, saying please let him fight, and a guard punches the butler down to the ground. Miss Marie comes over to help the butler, and just then, as he's pleading, we end up getting the announcement. Miss Marie's father's up there right next to Rose, and he tells him, if you fight, you are a disgrace to this country. You are a disgrace to this your family. You showed dishonor, and you will be brought up on treason if you dare go near this Gundam, if you dare fight, if you dare violate what I have said. And that little bit breaks George. The idea of not being honorable, the idea of disgracing his family and being brought up on treason for a country that he's done a lot for, really bothers George to an extreme degree. And yeah, because what's more important, this fight with Domon to prove that he can actually beat Domon, or his actual reasons for fighting, honor, duty, country, family, what have you. And everybody, you have the butler, Miss Marie, knowing that this is not an easy thing for George. Cut back to the battleground where Domon's like, where are you, George? And that's when we get the announcement that France is not fighting. Wong says, oh, well, this ain't so fun, but Master Asia reiterates this. Nah, this is where the real fun is about to begin. We're going to have a really good match now. Trust me. Domon concerned on what's going on. Later that night, rain starts to pour as we watch through the streets as George just wanders, not knowing what's going on, not knowing where he is, not knowing what to do. wandering throughout the streets. He ends up bumping into a bunch of guys, and they just throw him aside because he didn't apologize. He's dead inside, and they begin to berate him, saying, "Well, you bumped into us. I think we need to take you to pay up because we might be injured, we might be hurt." And George just throws them, beats their ass, and walks away. He ends up going back to the hangar, staring up at Rose Gundam. Well, not staring up. He's sitting next to it. Sorry, I was at the wrong spot. Sitting next to Rose Gundam, trying to figure out what he should do. And he's talking to Rose Gundam, saying, "What should I do? Should I fight? What's going on? What do I need to do?" And Rose Gundam doesn't really speak back, but we have established that fighters, even through Domon, the connections they have with their Gundams. George noticed that Gundam Rose also wants to fight through their own connection. This unique connection that only Gundam fighters have. And with that acknowledgement that even Gundam Rose wishes to fight, George takes action. Guards come by as they watch as Gundam Rose and George begin to leave the hangar. Mid-credit point, moving on. We get over to the boats. Rainy day. Domon's there. They're all talking about... Well, no, we have Marie Louise and the butler. Raymond, his name just came back to head. They don't know where George is. They don't know where the Gundam is, and they're pleading with Domon to help them out. Because this is a serious situation. He could be brought up on treason. He could be... And just all sorts of bad things could happen, and they need Domon's help. Domon is concerned, doesn't know what to do. And that's when rumbling happens. They rush outside, and what do they see? George and Rose Gundam come out of the water and declare combat on Domon because they need this fight. Domon pleads with him, "You shouldn't be doing this. You need to return everything. I don't want you to be, hurt or brought up on charges." And George isn't listening. He just wants that fight. Marie pleads with him. Raymond ends up pleading with him. Everybody pleads with him, and he just ignores it. He even tells Miss Marie, "I have fought for my family. I have fought for your family. I have fought for everybody else. This time I'm fighting for myself." It's respectful. Instead of doing things for other people, he's finally doing something for himself that he knows he needs to do. Hurts Miss Marie, but he wants this fight, and Domon takes him up on it. They know where to go, and Domon will fight him. Well, Domon won't fight him yet. He doesn't know what to do exactly. Then in the middle of the storm, as you see with the same fight last time, Schwartz Bruder appears and tells Domon, "What are you going to do? If you don't fight him, he won't help you fight Dark Gundam. If you do fight him, he could end up being brought up on treason. What will you do?" We end up cutting away to Wong, who's getting a phone call about it. "Well, the Rose Gundam's been stolen. Something's happening." "Oh, that's interesting." And then he starts thinking, Master Asia must be right. There is something interesting going on here. Cut away. George over at the hill, because he wants to battle at this North Hill spot. I forgot to mention that. At the hill, waiting. Slowly as Domon starts walking up, all the way he does, slow, calm, and methodical. George stands ready. Domon says, "I'm here to fight." George and him stare down, and George says, "At sunrise, we begin." Stare down. Beautiful scenery as the sun goes across them, the shadows changing. As the sun rises, battle commences, and it is a fierce one. We have Miss Marie, Raymond, Rain, all there to watch the fight. Just then we see that Neo France has brought troops and the president along with them to try to stop the fight. And as they are approaching, we have Allenby there to stop him. because this is going to be one epic fight, and she's not going to let him stop it. President gets out and runs away, but Allenby takes swift action about everybody else. She's taking care of them. President goes to watch the fight. Gets up there, and everybody tells him, no, you're not allowed to stop this fight. This is a fight that George must have. And he's still demanding that they stop, but they're not listening. This is his fight. Battle's going on. It's raging. Miss Marie tells him that you can't stop this, no matter how hard you try. And that's when George uses his new attack, Rose Hurricane, wrapping Burning Gundam in a wave of bits, just all over the place, striking him down, containing Domon, and he can't do it. He's trapped. Looks like it's done. Everybody's amazed with this new power, this energy. Rain points out that, this energy that he can do, being able to control these bits just with his mind, it's impressive. Domon starts swinging, trying to break as many bits as possible, and George just says, you can't do it. There's too many bits. You're not going to be able to break out. And that's when Domon shows off what he's been doing for his training. Gets down. Everybody thinks that he's stopping, and just then, his blade begins to grow, and he uses a new attack, Burning Blade Typhoon, where he spins around with his sword, causing a massive circulation, utilizing the spinning of the bits to destroy them and throw them away and send a wave of energy everywhere. George gets thrown down, massive explosion. George is impressed, but he's not giving up. He and Domon begin to rage their fight even harder. Domon landing some strong attacks on George, breaking parts off, tearing into him. And I need to show you, he is tearing into George in all sorts of unique ways. Takes a chunk out of the middle, took a chunk out of a knee. It is impressive what he's doing to George. George gets down and he says, I'm not done yet. Domon's just shocked that he's not giving up. George stands up and goes hyper mode himself. Everybody's amazed by the light, and that's when the president says, I knew it. I knew you had this energy in you. This is what I wanted from you. This is what I wanted from you the whole time. George, now in a serene state of mind, activating his own hyper mode, declares that he's going to fight. They're going to go all at it. Domon activates his. Burning Finger starts getting said. They both say it at the same time as they go in for this final attack. Domon strikes the blade. George comes swinging down. Bam! Of course, we knew Domon was going to win. George goes back. But this was the most important part. George comes down, smiles, acknowledges that he lost. Says that, I guess this is going to be me. This is it for me. And then the president starts speaking. This is not the end for you. You actually achieved what I wanted you to achieve. The reason he thought you were weak, he just lays it out here. And I'm going to go a little, not president to him, but to you. The president wanted George to fight that way the entire time, with that sense of purpose, that sense of pride, that sense of energy, that knowing that he needs to go all out constantly and activating the hyper mode. That's what the president always wanted him to do. But because George wasn't doing it, he said, I'm not going to let you fight this dude. He's going to go all out. You're not. So taking this away ended up triggering that. And the president's proud. He's proud that he's a noble fighter and he will continue being the fighter for Neo France. George is very proud of that. Everybody's happy. Domon says, so this is going to be us now. You're going to help me with the Dark Gundam? George says, yep, we're going to help you. Then we're going to do the Battle Royale, and then I'm going to beat you there. Continuing the rivalry, continuing their oath, and continuing their friendship. We end up having Schwarzbruder saying, this is going to be interesting, How are you going to fare with the rest of the members? Keep it up. And finally, we end up seeing that both Wong and Master Asia watch the whole fight. Wong tells Master Asia, I guess you were right. This was an interesting match, but the next match is going to be even more interesting. He said that last week too. He said this every time, even more interesting. Let's just be real. That's a Wong phrase. But he ends up pointing out who the next opponent is. Sai and Dragon Gundam. This will be a fun match. And as Master Asia walks away, he says, I disagree. This isn't going to be a fun match. This is going to be an epic match. And it's going to be a match unlike we have seen. Pretty much the episode ends there, but for those of you who don't remember, Saishi honestly has always been able... Saishi and Domon actually haven't beat each other yet. Their first match ended in a draw, and they haven't really fought since then, but Saishi is equally as strong as Domon. And very clever, very technical, and he almost beat Domon on their first try. That's how cool that is. So this next match is going to be epic, and I can't remember the next match. It is next level epic. But I'm going to leave it there, folks. Let me get you guys' thoughts on all this all down in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Share it out, friends. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video and go live, guys. And I'll see you all on the next one. Bye for now.